burner account. My stepdaughter Mia, she is 23 years old now and has been dreaming of working in the fashion world since she was young. I was married to her father when she was 15. She took many courses to work on herself, and I might say she is good at picking fabrics and colors. However, she is not good at designing. She is a good stylist, but not a good designer. I started my business about 16 years ago. It was very small and low budget, but I was lucky enough to expand it to where it is now. Still not the biggest company out there, but big enough in my region. Part of my expansion plan was to hire other young designers, so my team and I are quite selective of who gets the job and who doesn't, because the designs are products we sell, so they have to be good and passed by the judgment board, which also means I am not the sole judge who gets to choose. While I most definitely can, I prefer to hear what others have to say and decide with them. My husband asked me to have Mia as a designer in my company. From the very start, I knew Mia was not a good designer, but I told my husband to have her apply for the job and submit her papers for me and the team to look at them and examine her skills. I think he was kind of surprised I said apply for it instead of an immediate yes, but he still told Mia, who sent a thank you text for helping her. I don't know what exactly my husband told her, so she would send a thank you text, but I replied saying that I will be waiting for her, along with the judges, to examine her work constructively and wished her luck. I honestly don't know till this day if my husband lied to her or if she sent such a text to guilt-trip me. I have no clue. Anyways, her day came and no one saw her stuff on par with our criteria, so she was sent an email that she was not accepted. Let's just say hell broke loose from here. My husband talked to me about how this is nonsense and unfair that I didn't accept her. I told him I am not the sole decider. I have a system in place full of judges, but he wanted me to bend the system for Mia. If I did that, my credibility in front of my employees would sink, and I would lose them eventually. Plus, if Mia got in, her fellow designers would not respect her because she would only get in for being my relative, not for her skills that are far behind her fellow designers. It is a huge risk for me ethically and financially to include Mia. My husband proceeded to tell me the list of courses and work Mia has done to achieve her dream. I told him I understand, but she still does not have the skills, at least to meet my criteria. She could apply somewhere else and get accepted. Mia later sent me a long text of how I failed her, and she doesn't want to see or hear from me anymore. Update to answer frequent questions. 1. Can she be a stylist assistant designer? Yes, if she applied, she can. However, designers get to choose their staff and team, not me. So it is up to the designer to let go of their current stylist or not, or add an extra stylist. 2. She didn't reach out to me. Her father did. So logically, I talked to her father, and when she came to me directly, I told her she will be examined constructively and didn't skyrocket her expectations. 3. Can she be an intern or an amateur designer? No, because we only hire established designers, not students. 4. Which is the most important. Mia didn't request help, didn't request mentoring, and didn't request opinions. She requested a job at my business. 5. Since she wanted a job, I gave her just that, a very professional setup. I expected she would fail. I wasn't 100% sure, as I already stated, there are judges. I believe that going through the process of professionalism, either getting accepted or rejected, is an experience and process everyone should have. 6. Yes, I can hire anyone and overstep all my judges. I choose not to because I abide by my own standards and morals. So while I technically can, bending my set of rules will mark my downfall and hurt my integrity in the industry and within myself. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Your husband is delusional. Yes, Mia took courses. She has put in work, but her designs are not a good fit for your company. And how many people graduate from fashion institutes every year? How many of them get a job as a designer right out of the gate? Or ever? It's like designing Alfred Dgner type clothing, but trying to get a job designing for Ann Taylor. It's not going to happen. Her designs might fit somewhere else, but not everyone will be interested. Comment 2. Not the idiot. If she is as good as she thinks, she can apply to any company and see what they say too. In reality, she knows she is subpar and wants a quick in. Then it will be a promotion, then an executive position. At most, you can offer her a low-level job doing the work she is good at, if she toes the line and does not try to act as if she is in charge. But this entitled behavior has probably ruled that out. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a wild 3 months since my last post, and boy, do I have updates for you. Buckle up, because this ride has been anything but smooth. After Mia's rejection from my company, things at home got icy. My husband was still fuming, and Mia, well, she was a storm cloud of hurt and anger. But then, out of nowhere, she landed a job with one of our competitors. I was shocked, to say the least. Turns out, she had been secretly interning with a well-known designer who had just branched out on his own. This designer, who used to work for me, had seen potential in Mia that we hadn't. Mia's new boss was none other than Alex, a former employee of mine who had left after a heated disagreement over design direction. Alex had always been ambitious, and I had to admit, he had a knack for spotting raw talent. Mia's styling skills, it seemed, had caught his eye. He took her under his wing, and within months, she was making waves in the fashion scene. The twist? Alex's new line, with Mia as the lead stylist, was a hit. And not just any hit, it was taking business away from my company. Clients who used to be loyal to us were now flocking to Alex's edgier, more youthful designs. It was a blow to my business, sure, but the real sting was seeing Mia thrive somewhere else. I couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and regret. Pride because Mia was finally living her dream, and regret because I hadn't been the one to give her that chance. It was a hard pill to swallow, watching her succeed from afar. Meanwhile, my husband's attitude towards me softened as he saw Mia's success. He started to understand that maybe my decision had been a tough love kind of thing. But the damage was done. Our relationship had taken a hit, and we were both trying to navigate this new normal. Then came the confrontation. At a fashion event, I ran into Mia and Alex. It was the first time I'd seen Mia since she cut ties with me. She was radiant, confident, and clearly in her element. Alex was smug, enjoying the success and the fact that he had one-upped me. The tension was thick as we exchanged pleasantries, but Mia surprised me. She thanked me. She said that the rejection had fueled her to prove herself, and she wouldn't be where she was without that push. I was taken aback. I had expected anger, not gratitude. It was a bittersweet moment, realizing that sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is let them go. But just when I thought things were settling down, another bomb dropped. Alex's company was facing a lawsuit for intellectual property theft. One of the designs Mia had worked on was strikingly similar to a concept we had developed, but never released. The fashion world is small, and ideas travel fast, but this was too close for comfort. The lawsuit put a strain on Mia's newfound success. It was the talk of the industry, and suddenly, her credibility was in question. Was she the wonderkind everyone thought she was, or had she just been riding on stolen ideas? I was torn. Part of me wanted to defend her, to say that Mia wouldn't do something like that. But another part of me was angry. If she had used our designs, it was a betrayal I couldn't overlook. The case dragged on, and the stress was evident on Mia's face every time I saw her in the fashion magazines or at events. My husband and I watched from the sidelines, our own issues taking a back seat to the drama unfolding in Mia's life. In the end, the lawsuit was settled out of court. The details were kept hush-hush, but the damage to Mia's reputation was done. She was still working, still creating, but the shine had dulled. People whispered, and in the fashion world, whispers can be as damaging as shouts. Stepsister and my dad's wife bullied me for years, but then I found out my fiancé was secretly talking to her. My father remarried when I, 25-year-old female, was 14. His wife Mary, 49-year-old female, and his stepdaughter Kyla, 26-year-old female, were hell in my life. My father is wealthy, so we used to go to a fancy school. Kyla was very mean to me, and I had a hard time to the point that I had to move to another school because I couldn't take it anymore. Once she convinced my father and Mary that I was pregnant, it was so embarrassing because I was still a virgin, and yet she and Mary convinced my father that I should do a pregnancy test. After it came negative, she told some of her friends at school. She was 1 year ahead of me, that I had a baby unaliving. The bullying was non-stop. She would do anything to make my life miserable. Once she paid one guy at school to start a rumor that I performed oral intimacy on him during class. When I was already going to another school, she told everybody at my old school that I left because I was caught stealing at the mall and I was in a youth detention center. My parents had split custody, so I used to spend 1 week with my father and 1 with my mom. After 2 years of hell, I told my father that I wouldn't stay at his place anymore, and our relationship was reduced to 2 weekends a month. My relationship with my father was non-existent during college days. He would send me money and call me once every month, and that was it. I went to his house 1 or 2 times during my 5 years in college. I started dating my fiancé Louis, 26-year-old male, 4 years ago, and I only introduced him to my father after more than 2 years of relationship. I am getting married this spring, and we are going to marry at the beach in another country in Europe. Both of our families are wealthy, and we decided to offer the stay at the hotel to our guests, and they'll pay only for their tickets. Because of that, we decided to settle on a small number of guests, around 80, and of course Kyla is not one of them. The wedding planning started 3 months ago, and my father knew that I wasn't going to invite Kyla. However, he flipped out now and said that I need to invite her. I said that I'm not going to invite a person that I don't have one single good memory of to such a big day. We have been fighting about that since then. This past week, he told me that I shouldn't count on his money if Kyla isn't invited, and my mom said, fine, I'll pay for everything then. After that, he said that he's not coming to the wedding without Kyla, and I replied, fine. My grandma and aunt are trying to convince me to invite Kyla for the sake of our family, but to be honest, I am not even sure if we are a family. Am I the jerk for not inviting a person who bullied me for years to one of the biggest days in my life? Edit. I just want to say thank you to everyone. I had a hard time, and I just left that behind because I wanted to move on and be happy. But with all of your comments, I started crying because you're right. He never showed me love. It's so hard to admit that your father doesn't love you, because that's what parents should do, right? They should love you. I can't answer everyone, so thank you for helping me. Edit 2. There's a lot of questions about how much everyone knows about the situation. My father was up to everything, and he never took it seriously. My grandma lives in another country, and I don't know how much she knew at the time, but she knows to some extent now. My aunt knows everything because her daughter is one of my best friends, and my bridesmaid. As I pointed out, my family is quite wealthy, and they care a lot about family and legacy, and those types of things that don't make any sense to me. However, it's very important for them. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Does your aunt and grandma know what she did to you? The full details, if they do, I'm so disappointed in them. I mean, aren't you family? Shouldn't they protect family from an aggressor? Keeping up appearances seems to be their motive, because it's obvious that you wouldn't be inviting her. To think otherwise is delusional. Ignore them, stick with your decision, and enjoy your wedding. Congratulations. Wishing you a happy marriage. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your grandmother is saying to invite her for the good sake of our family is bullying. Your grandmother is more concerned about appearances than your feelings. Don't back down. You will regret it forever if you do, because the memories of your wedding will be tainted by this. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a month since my last post, and wow, a lot has happened. I wish I could say it's all been good news, but life threw me a curveball that I didn't see coming. So, let's start with the heartbreak. Lewis and I were going strong, or so I thought. Turns out, he had been keeping a secret from me, a big one. I found out that Lewis and Kyla had been in contact behind my back. It was a shock, to say the least. I discovered it when I saw a message pop up on his phone from her. My heart sank. I confronted him, and after a lot of denials, he finally admitted that they had been talking for a few months. He said it started as him trying to mend fences between me and my family, but it turned into something more. They had met up a couple of times when he was on business trips. I was devastated. The man I was about to marry, betraying me with the one person who made my life a living hell. The wedding plans are now on hold, and I'm trying to figure out what to do next. I never expected this from Lewis. He always seemed so supportive and understanding of my past with Kyla. Now, let's rewind a bit to give you some context. Lewis knew all about the bullying I endured from Kyla. He knew how she spread rumors about me, how she tormented me to the point of changing schools. He was the one who held me when I cried about it. So for him to go behind my back and get involved with her, it's like a betrayal on another level. My mom has been my rock through all of this. She's been there for me since the split with my dad, and she's been there for me now. She's furious at Lewis and has been helping me sort through my feelings and what to do next. As for my dad, he's been trying to reach out since he heard about the breakup. He's been apologetic, saying he never wanted any of this to happen. But it's hard to take him seriously when he's the one who let Kyla's behavior slide for years. It's like he's only now realizing the consequences of his inaction. My aunt and grandma have been on the sidelines during all of this. They're still pushing for family unity, but I can't even think about that right now. My trust has been shattered, and I need to focus on healing. The confrontation with Louis was intense. I asked him how he could do this to me, how he could be so cruel. He didn't have a good answer. He just kept saying he was sorry and that he didn't mean for it to go this far. But sorry doesn't fix things, not something like this. I've been spending a lot of time with my best friend and bridesmaid, my cousin. She's been a great support, helping me navigate the mess that my life has become. She's been encouraging me to focus on myself and my own happiness, rather than trying to please a family that hasn't always had my best interests at heart. The fallout from all of this has been rough. I've been trying to keep it together, but it's hard. I feel like I've lost so much in such a short amount of time. The man I loved, the wedding I was planning, the family I was trying to reconcile with. It's all up in the air now. I've been doing a lot of thinking about what I want for my future. It's clear that I need to make some changes, to move away from the toxic relationships that have been holding me back. It's not going to be easy, but I know it's necessary. Neighbors say they have grandfathered-in easement and close off lake access through my property. Oh boy, I catch them in the act and they get arrested. Now the community is torn. Some apologize, but others, oh boy. This started over the summer and is continuing, so I'm seeking some insight. I don't need legal advice, I have an attorney. I purchased an estate property. By the time the owners passed, they hadn't lived on site for almost a decade. The property is wooded with lake access from the back of the lot and was overgrown. Because of the woods and the distance between lots, I didn't expect to see my neighbors. But at first, I had people stopping by, telling me how great it was that I was cleaning up and renovating the property. I work from home, so it was nice to meet the people living nearby. Everything was fine until the last steps. Pouring a concrete pad for my van and finishing the fencing. I hadn't moved in yet, but once the extra driveway and pad were added, I parked my van. When I returned for the final move-in, there was a massive gouge down its length, as if someone had squeezed another vehicle by or dragged something else large by it. Anyway, I moved myself and my dog in. Because of the dog and the incident with the van, I closed my gates. By doing so, I closed access to the lake through my property. Immediately, I learned that the neighbors had been using my driveway to get to the water for a while, as the old owners were either never here or didn't care. I started getting notes and knocks on the door about the problem I caused. I don't mind the occasional neighborhood kid knocking, but this was non-stop, 3 to 4 groups a day, and they were not always polite. I was asked to move my van and vehicles so people could back boats down the drive. I'm now assuming that's how my van got gouged. I explained the dog and reasons for having a fence, but have been met with criticism that I'm changing how things have always worked around here. The last straw was people opening the gate on their own and then getting upset. My dog was loose. I acted by putting up a no trespassing sign, a sign indicating a dog on site, cameras, locks, and an intercom by my door. So when people ring, I can tell them I'm working and don't have to come down to the door. Even though the summer season is over, I'm still getting notes and voicemails telling me that access to the lake is grandfathered in, as the previous owners allowed it, and it's been going on forever. These are coming from 2 houses, a woman in her 50s and a couple about the same age, who claim they represent the Homeowners Association. Although when I purchased, there wasn't a single thing about neighborhood covenants or an actual organized homeowners association. Sometimes the communication takes on a more formal approach. Other times it informs me how bad of a person I am for ruining the neighborhood. My attorney assures me this neighbor-proclaimed easement is absolutely not a thing. He's done the legwork, but these are people I'll presumably be living nearby for a long time, and I'd prefer to be cordial. Am I the idiot for changing up the neighborhood vibe? ETA. I absolutely know I'm in the legal right. This is not that, rather an ask from a personal AH perspective. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I bought a house on a river. There is a natural pool at the end of the property. Moved in, and random fishermen would stroll by and wave as they passed me in my backyard. One day, they walked back up from the river and asked me if they could store some fishing poles in my shed. I gated the property. For a while, they would ring the doorbell and ask me to unlock the gate. I never did, and it eventually stopped. There are other access points that require more effort, but are public. Comment 2. Not the idiot. My attorney assures me this neighbor-proclaimed easement is absolutely not a thing. He's done the legwork. Frick trespassing. I parked my van. When I returned for the final move-in, there was a massive gouge down the length of it, as if someone had squeezed another vehicle by or dragged something else large by it. These are not people worth being given an inch of goodwill. Now, for the update. A lot has happened since my last post about the estate property I bought. I thought things would settle down after the summer, but boy was I wrong. The first day after my last update, I caught the woman in her 50s, let's call her Karen, on one of my new cameras. She was at my gate, trying to talk to my dog through the fence. She didn't notice the camera at first, but when she did, she gave it the dirtiest look you can imagine. Later that day, I found a note in my mailbox from her, saying that I was being unneighborly and that I should think of the community. The next day, the couple, who I'll call Bob and Sue, came by. They were more aggressive than Karen. They banged on my gate and demanded I come out. When I didn't, they started shouting about how I was ruining years of tradition. I used the intercom to tell them I was busy working and couldn't talk. They left, but not before Bob kicked the gate hard enough to leave a dent. That evening, I was out walking my dog when I bumped into Karen. She tried to sweet-talk me, saying how she understood my concerns, but that I should be more flexible. She even hinted that if I let them use the lake access, they could make my life here much easier. I didn't bite, and she left in a huff. The following day, things got even crazier. I was inside when I heard a commotion outside. I checked the cameras and saw Bob and Sue trying to cut the lock on my gate with bolt cutters. I called the police, and they arrived just in time to catch them red-handed. They were taken away in handcuffs, and I thought that would be the end of it. But no, later that night, Karen came by again. This time, she was crying, saying that Bob and Sue were her best friends and that I had gone too far by getting them arrested. She begged me to drop the charges, saying that we could work something out. I felt a little bad for her, but I stood my ground. I told her that I couldn't just let people vandalize my property. The next day, I found out that Bob and Sue were part of the homeowners association that didn't really exist. They had been the ones leading the charge against me, and with them gone, the rest of the neighbors started to back off. I even got a few apologies from people who said they didn't know the full story. But the bittersweet moment came when I learned that Karen had been the one who had scratched my van. She confessed to me, tears in her eyes, saying she was just trying to make a point about the lake access. She offered to pay for the damages, and I could tell she was genuinely sorry. I accepted her offer, but it was a reminder that even though things were calming down, there were still hard feelings. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.